If they think they've silenced me, Harry and Meghan have got another thing coming. My reporting has always been completely honest, above board, and legal. Why would Prince Harry have such close links to a discredited hard-left blog peddling lies on a daily basis and paying convicted criminals to act as journalists? It's a prospect so unlikely that it seems hard to believe. But I have learned the disgraced Duke has cultivated a private working relationship with Byline Times to pursue one goal: taking down his enemies in the British media. It's no surprise to know I was top of that list. For a lengthy period after Meghan Markle first entered the royal family, there was silence from the MSM as the American Duchess intended to weaponize false allegations of racism. But I blew that cozy consensus apart. It started by breaking the story of Meghan's row with the late Queen over which tiara she would wear on her wedding day, continued with her fallout with the Princess of Wales over how she spoke to staff, and concluded with the revelation of Megxit, first to Canada in January 2020 and then California just weeks later. My reporting as executive editor of The Sun over that tumultuous period in royal history exposed Harry and Meghan for what they really are: nasty grifters doing all they could to cause difficulties for the late Queen, even when she was eventually dying of blood cancer, knowing full well that they were always going to quit the royal family to seek a fortune in the US as woke warriors. I know that was always the plan. My reporting was never to do with my personal feelings about Harry and Meghan. In fact, I had hoped the marriage would work and openly supported the new Duchess being allowed to carve out her own niche within the firm, taking into account her unique Hollywood background. But the couple never wanted success, quite the opposite, in fact. Not that Harry and Meghan didn't use every possible tactic to shut me up. They made complaints to the newspaper regulator Ipso, leaned on other royals to complain about me to my editor, unleashed their odd-looking little attack dog, that weird bloke Omid Scobie, turned former celebrity acquaintances like James Corden against me, threatened to file a lawsuit falsely claiming I'd broken the law while reporting on them, and brazenly attacked me in public. I mean, Harry even used the phrase "sad little man" to describe me in his autobiography Spare, which I thought was the height of irony.
All right, folks, this is beyond shocking. We've always known Prince Harry hates the British press, but what we didn't know: he's secretly working with a shady left-wing blog that employs convicted criminals. According to Dan Wooten, Harry has cultivated a private relationship with Byline Times, a publication dedicated to smearing the British press and the royal family. But the bigger question is, why? Why would a prince, fifth in line to the throne, ally himself with a discredited, unregulated blog? The answer? Because they do his dirty work. The public is furious, and honestly, rightfully so. And here's where things get really disturbing, because one of the key figures involved in this operation is a convicted criminal. Dan Evans was one of the most notorious phone hackers in UK history. He avoided jail by turning against his former colleagues. Now, he's working with Byline Times and reportedly Prince Harry.
But nothing was going to stop me reporting the truth. So eventually Harry succumbed to dark forces. The gullible bloke had been captured by the self-obsessed wannabe celebrity lawyer David Sherborne on a one-man mission to destroy the British Free Press, and a relationship with Byline Times was soon born. Now, Byline is the sort of outfit so dodgy that no one should take a word of what they report seriously. Run by the thoroughly unpleasant fake news merchant Peter Jukes, it has launched obsessive campaigns against tabloid journalists hired by Rupert Murdoch and true conservative politicians for many years. But most of their so-called scoops are ignored because the claims are so preposterous, usually based on false information provided by discredited sources driven by malice with significant axes to grind. Even more bizarrely, their royal connection comes via a convicted criminal called Dan Evans, who avoided jail after admitting to being one of the most prolific phone hackers in history by turning on his former colleagues. Now, I had the misfortune of working with this shady character for a brief period at the News of the World. I joined in 2007 after the legendary Sunday newspaper's former royal editor Clive Goodman had been jailed for phone hacking and was assured the practice was long over. Now, I've not broken the law. during my years in journalism and specifically testified to the Leveson inquiry in 2012 that I have never hacked a phone, so my conscience is completely clear. Indeed, there was only one man stupid enough to continue breaking the law by illegally hacking into the phones of celebrities after the practice had been exposed and Goodman had gone to jail. That was a certain Mr. Dan Evans. It was an utterly pathetic decision and shows the true character of the Cretin. I mean, why not go and be a proper journalist by cultivating contacts and uncovering wrongdoing? I could never understand that. His selfish, illegal behaviour helped cost many honourable journalists their jobs and ended a great British Sunday newspaper tradition. Evans was suspended around 2010 when his behaviour came to light, and I gladly never spoke to him again. But by 2023, he was attending the High Court alongside Prince Harry in his landmark civil case against the Daily Mirror, a dying left-wing rag specifically targeted by Harry to try and damage the reputation of another Meghan truth speaker, Piers Morgan. On the first day Harry gave evidence, Evans slipped out of court just moments before the Prince. I can also reveal today that Harry has spent months negotiating with Byline Times about sitting down with the blog for a tell-all interview. It's astonishing that the fifth in line to the throne would be considering talking to such a disgraceful publication that is totally unregulated and reliant on criminals for its reportage. Unless, of course, they had been conducting his dirty work. Which brings me to Byline's July 2023 takedown of me by Evans and another failed tabloid journalist and broadcaster called Tom Latcham, whose biggest claim to fame was unsuccessfully hosting the midnight to dawn graveyard shift on TalkSport for a couple of years. Despite their proclamations, Evans and Latcham were no British Woodward and Bernstein, more like Dumb and Dumber. They ran a series of completely untrue hit pieces about me, relying on testimony from two convicted criminal fantasists who had attempted to extort money from gay men in exchange for silence, and my deranged and abusive ex, a hard-left activist who had spent 5 years concocting a fairy tale backed up by no evidence whatsoever, but specifically designed to destroy me, despite the fact we broke up 11 years earlier.
Let me get this straight. Harry, who constantly talks about integrity and truth, is now working with a criminal who hacked people's phones. I mean, you can't make this up. If Harry truly cared about press ethics, he wouldn't be associating with criminals. But clearly this isn't about ethics, it's about revenge. And guess what? It gets worse. Because Harry has reportedly been negotiating a tell-all interview with Byline Times. So let's get this straight. After trashing the British press for years, Harry is now planning to sit down with a sketchy, unregulated blog run by convicted criminals. I mean, this would be a catastrophic move. Imagine if King Charles or Prince William gave an exclusive interview to an underground far-right blog. The backlash would be instant. So why is Harry getting away with this? And let's be real. If this interview happens, it will be a total disaster. Harry is already struggling to stay relevant. This would be the final nail in his credibility's coffin. And let's talk about how the public is reacting, because this is not going over well. People are calling him out for being a total fraud. He pretends to be a victim of unethical journalism, yet he's now using shady journalists to attack his enemies. At this point, does Harry even have a future as a public figure? Because every move he makes, it just pushes him closer and closer to irrelevance.
But sadly, given the toxic cancel culture now engulfing the British MSM, their tactic to taint my reputation was successful, even though I was completely exonerated in 2 investigations by the Metropolitan and Scottish police. The Daily Mail, which is secretly terrified of the unhinged campaign Harry is waging against them, immediately paused my column, which until that point had been the most read on their website internationally. They didn't wait to see any evidence or allow me to put my case. They bowed to these friends of Harry within hours. Emboldened, Byline Times didn't stop their campaign of false reporting. It culminated in a front-page story claiming my reporting of Megxit had been illegal somehow because it relied on information provided to me by a key aide working for Prince William, with whom I had a previous friendship. It was only once you got deep down into their 10,000-word missive that they had to admit such untrue claims had been reported to the police and the royal family years earlier by enemies of mine within the Sun, were thoroughly investigated and then dismissed because there was no basis to them whatsoever. This wasn't journalism. of any form. It was a campaign to stop me ever working in the British media again. Now, I appreciate that this is a complicated story and it could be seen as very inside baseball. I'm also convinced that no one in the corrupt British MSM will dare follow it up because they are determined to protect each other. But Harry, collaborating with the Byline Times against his sort of critics and the media, that matters. Even though they are now on the outer of the royal family, it shows the power of the British establishment to neuter and silence critical voices. Harry and Meghan have now played a crucial role in cancelling me for reporting the truth in my last 4 MSM jobs. First on ITV's Lorraine, then The Sun, then the Daily Mail, and yes, even GB News. That's why I'm here now, proudly independent, with a daily news show, Dan Wootton Outspoken, launching later this year. I will continue to break stories that both the Sussexes and the royal family would rather stay cover up. And there is much more to expose. If they think they've silenced me, Harry and Meghan have got another thing coming. My reporting has always been completely honest, above board, and legal.
So is this it? Is Harry's royal reputation officially beyond saving? So here's the big question. Has Prince Harry just destroyed his own credibility? Because working with criminals to attack the press is not a good look. And let's not forget, Harry has multiple lawsuits against the British press. Do you think this is going to help his case? Absolutely not. At this point, people are saying the royal family should make it official. Harry is on his own. And honestly, can you blame them? Because let's be honest, if this doesn't make people see through his victim act, I don't know what will. Alright folks, that's it for today's reaction. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more commentary, and let's get the conversation going. Has Harry finally gone too far? Should the royal family cut ties for good? And why is he working with criminals to silence the press? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.